In theory, I can keep this brief because it was only a couple of months ago in Phone Show 401 that I reviewed this, the Xiaomi Redmi Note 9 Pro, pronouncing it a true budget flagship at not much over £200. I was seriously impressed by the value for money. And then the POCO X3 NFC came along from the same parent company, and it's true there's some stuff in common, but in almost every area Xiaomi has gone one better than their previous device under another of their sub-brands. Everything here is just, well, better. So let's break it down, comparing the POCO X3 to the previous Redmi Note 9 Pro. The chipset here is upgraded to a Snapdragon 732G. The 6.7-inch display is nominally similar at 1080p and 20:9, but this adds 120Hz refresh rate for those that enjoy that sort of thing. Plus it adds HDR10 compatibility for general media enjoyment and better contrast. Also for media, the X3 here has stereo speakers, and true stereo at that, with decent volume, fidelity and bass. Demo later on. The back even vibrates so that you feel the music or FX on a video as well as hearing them. There's also a higher rating for audio out of the 3.5mm headphone jack, though I think this is more to do with the chipset upgrade. There's a better selfie camera with f/2.2 aperture and higher resolution. It's MIUI 12 out of the box this time, slicker and smoother, and based on Android 10 with its full screen gestures. The battery's slightly larger at 5160 mAh, still whopping, in other words, in a true 2-day phone, and fast charging is up 10% at 33 watt maximum. There's some water and dust proofing this time, albeit only IP53, so splash proof, but I'll take it. Oh yes, and it's cheaper by £30 or so beyond the Redmi Note 9 Pro. Even the RRP here is £199 in the UK, including VAT, on Xiaomi's site for 64GB storage, plus the usual micro SD or second SIM. So, wow. Any downsides? Well, not really. Pedants will point out that the Redmi Note 9 Pro has a glass back. Well, this is artfully transparent plastic, but honestly, who cares? It looks great, and this is more durable, I reckon, while the Redmi needed the supplied clear TPU case, and this comes with a clear case too in the box, so best of both worlds. They're both largish phones, of course, but they're both still just about manageable one-handed, and you can't argue with the screen real estate for content. I managed to tame MIUI 12 quite quickly, just a bunch of bloatware apps to uninstall, and then rearrange some shortcuts and groups a bit. The capacitive fingerprint scanner on the power button on the side is tremendous here, so fast. Just a light touch and the screen's on and you're authenticated. So much better, so much faster than the press and hope in-screen ultrasonic sensors on the latest £1,000 Samsung flagships, in my humble opinion. Imaging is essentially identical to that on the Redmi Note 9 Pros, which is to say excellent, as long as you don't need to zoom. The quad Bayer 64 megapixel main sensor delivers great shots in all conditions at one times though, and the wide angle lens is also excellent. See the sample shots here, even in poor light conditions. And you get the usual 4K video recording with high quality stereo sound, all present and correct. As you might imagine, for me personally, the highlight of the X3 is the new stereo speakers. Remember the Redmi Note 9 Pro was mono. Big difference, big difference. These are very good indeed, rivaling those of my iPhone 11 Pro. Shooting this. Here's the demo, full volume. There's some bass, it's loud, and there's a great stereo image. Bit of it all along the watchtower there. Dolby Atmos would have been perfect here, the icing on the cake, but I'm sure licensing fees for Dolby Atmos are an issue at this price point. What more does anyone need in a 2020 smartphone? Well, Qi charging is missing, obviously at under £200, an extra coil and all the electronics that wouldn't be practical. An always-on display is missing, but you can kind of add it in with the always-on AMOLED application linked here. It's very customizable should you really want to get your always on on. The name here, POCO X3 NFC, is slightly odd of course, but I guess Xiaomi is making the point all those who've criticised phones in past years for omitting NFC and therefore not working with Google Pay in the West. This one does, it's in the name. Now obviously a telephoto lens of some kind would have been nice rather than the slightly gimmicky macro camera here. there are only so many arty shots of pegs and keys that one can do. And obviously better waterproofing would have been nice. But at £199 all in, I'm impressed. Brand new, the POCO X3 NFC is the value smartphone of the year. I'm really impressed by what Xiaomi has done in their POCO sub-brand here. It makes something of a mockery of the £1,000 smartphones that are in many ways better, but they're not 5 times better. The POCO X3 NFC.